Stop blaming others and start growing. Use those triggers to heal. How can we use triggers as tools to work on our shadows and grow? What triggers us is a clear indication of the work that still needs to be done within ourselves. So instead of pushing these feelings away, lean into them with self-compassion, with acceptance, with appreciation. And yes, appreciation and gratitude, because these triggers are such a gift, because they show us where, in which area of life we still have work to do within ourselves. And once we accept and heal those parts of us, we'll not have those triggers anymore. So isn't that a gift? It's such a gift and a blessing. It's all about changing our perspective and seeing things in a new way. There was a saying that I love. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So it's all about perspective, and it's very difficult at times when you're in the midst of those triggers to see that and to do that work. So I'll share a few things, what worked for me, and hopefully they work for you. And those are things that you don't do it in the midst of when you're triggered, but you do it afterwards in reflection. But these triggers show us the shadow side of ourselves. And we all have one. In this video, we're going to explore how to use these triggers as a path of healing and ultimately to personal growth. First, let's talk about what shadow is and why do they matter. Shadows represent the parts of ourselves that we tend to suppress or avoid. These usually are parts of ourselves that society, family deemed as shameful, unacceptable. And so we started suppressing that very early on in our childhood. So this could be feelings like jealousy, anger, envy, because we had thought that jealousy is not a good thing. Envy is not a good thing. Guess what? We all have it. We all experienced it in one way or another. We're just humans and we have this within us. Those are just emotions, and emotions cannot be right or wrong. They are our emotions. So society or teachers or families deem those as not good, bad. And so we started to hide this. That we started to hide that we experience jealousy because it's wrong. We started to hide that we experience envy because it's wrong. Well, nothing is wrong. And so now we're adults. Now we can choose for ourselves what we deem wrong, right, good, bad, or should we even label things? I mean, I think Buddhism teaches us not to label things as good or bad. And I think that's an excellent way to live without deeming those parts of us and those emotions as good or bad. Shadows are not good or bad. They're just hidden. They're hidden, and some of us hid them really, really well for so many years. But now it's time to look inside, dig in, cast a light on them, so they can lose their strength and their power over us. I think Carl Jung said that whatever you bring out to light, it loses its power. And I think absolutely truth. And you don't have to shout it to the world. That's the beauty of it when working on the shadows. But you have to just admit to yourself and work with yourself. These shadows are hidden. And when they stay in the dark, they continue to influence our thoughts, therefore our behaviors and our reactions. And by recognizing and working through them, we can transform these hidden parts into sources of strength. What triggers us often reveals the areas in need of healing within ourselves. How triggers reveal our shadows? So triggers are like mirrors. Think of it that way. Trigger is a mirror. Any relationships that we have in our lives is a mirror of us, showing us the unresolved within ourselves. When someone's behavior causes a strong reaction from us, it's not about them. It's about something within us that is being triggered by them, but it's absolutely not them. We very often say, if they don't say this, I'll not be triggered. If they don't do this, they'll not be triggered. Well, guess what? Do you have control over what people say or do? No. You only have control over how you react. It's going to be a lost battle and such a waste of time to go and control people, what they say, what they do, or be upset about it. It's better to learn, see within ourselves and say, like, why this bothers me? What within myself is being triggered and why? So we can resolve it within ourselves and stop giving our power to other people because of the way they react, act, behave, say things. This is how we give our power away, when we react strongly to whatever other people do or say. Taking the power back means, what do I need to learn from this situation? What in me is triggered and why, so I can resolve it. And so next time I don't react and I'm not triggered by this person. And it's not about suppressing the reaction and play cool when this bothers you. No, it's about actually not bothering you. Let me give you an example. If someone spends a lot of money on a particular thing and that bothers you, look inside of you why that bothers you. It's not your money. It's not your life. It's not your decision. But why does it bother you? Why the person giving value to that thing and deciding to spend that much money on that thing bothers you? Is there something in your past that the way you were raised, like the message maybe you got was, you should not be spending money on these things. You should be spending money on that thing. Or money don't grow on trees, or, all this programming that we have from childhood. So the more aware we are of these triggers and the more we accept them and heal the root cause of it, the less emotional reaction they'll evoke in us over time. Okay, next thing, identifying your triggers as growth opportunities. How you can do that? Start paying attention to the moments when you have an emotional reaction. You can keep a log, write it down somewhere, and then once a week, you just review those logs, or you can do it as you go. So you have an emotional reaction and then you sit down and you think about it. Nowadays, I don't even write it. I just think about it. But back in the day, I would just write it down. And then someone told me this technique, which I really used, to constantly ask the question, why? And so you can dig into the root cause. So let's say someone spends money. Okay, let's go with a money example. Someone spends money on perfume. So I start writing down, okay, why is she buying this perfume? That's $350. And that bothers me. And then I say, why? Well, because I can use the money for something else. That's a lot of money. And that could be spent for something better. Why? $350 for perfume, it seems very wasteful. Why? Well, because I was raised poor and I would rather have savings in the bank or spend it on food. Why? Well, because, and so on and so on and so on. So usually they say when you do that, all the way down, it's always related to death. So that example, it is related to death, because if you go down, if you continue to why, well, I'll not have money to eat. And what will happen when I don't have money to eat? Die. So I think it's true. The question why is good to trace it back. You can write it down and do it once a week, few triggers that you experienced, or you can do it as you go. So these emotions are clues, and they will show you where these shadows lie within yourself. When you identify these patterns, you can begin to see your triggers as opportunities to grow rather than source of pain and frustration. So once you become detective of your emotions, of your triggers, an investigator, then you start seeing it as opportunity. Okay, let me investigate why this is coming up. Let me investigate why this emotion, why this person is triggering me. Let me investigate it. So you are becoming a detective, and it's an opportunity to find the clue, to find the missing piece, to find that shadow and bring it to light. So that's all there is, those emotional reactions, nothing more. Very important. Next step is compassion. Leaning into these triggers with compassion And that is very difficult, almost impossible in the beginning, because when you are jealous or envy of that friend who wrote that script or did that movie or got that promotion, it will be a trigger. It will not be possible to be compassionate and say, Lucia, it's okay to be envious. It's not going to be possible because this is the whole life programming. It took so many years to be programmed this way, and we operated this way. So it takes a lot of time to heal those triggers and those shadows. But only with consistent work, you'll be able to do it. And let me tell you, on the other side, it's such a relief. It's so much peace. I mean, I was like emotional ball. I was both energy, like reactive to every little thing. People wouldn't able to tell me anything. They'll say something and I'll be just like triggered right away and just like have a smart remark about anything and sarcastic remark. And it was just like exhausting. I've worked on this for about probably 10 years. Now I'm 50. So I started when I was 40. And finally, most of the triggers, most of the things that triggered me in a big, big way don't even bother, like at all. I just accepted these parts of me, and I can clearly like say, oh, I'm so envious of this. And I actually mean it, not like a joke. I'm envious of this cute little dress. No, I'm envious you got the promotion because I deserve it too. And I didn't get it. I'm not ashamed that I have these emotions in me. Or in a romantic setting, like I have fear of abandonment. I had it all my life. And I'm in the process of healing it. I'm not 1,000% there yet, but I'm most of it there. And so I can clearly say to the person that I'm in relationship with, I have a fear of abandonment. This is how it's showing up. So I know myself, but this is to a lot of self-awareness and a lot of work. Like I had pages and pages, binders and binders of these things, like writing down all my triggers, tracing them and all that. So once you identify your triggers, lean into them with self-compassion. And like I said, it's going to be very difficult, but you have to start. So instead of reacting immediately, take a pause and ask yourself. Now that's like baloney in the beginning, but you'll be lucky if you can count until 3. Well, for me, it was like count until 1 and then react. That was my first step. I don't know what it is for you, but I was very reactive. Before the person finished a sentence, I already had a smart remark coming out of my mouth. So for me, waiting till 1, oh my gosh, big achievement. Then it was more and more. Now, I would not say anything, but my rule is this, and that does not have to be your rule. You got to find what works for you. My rule was this. If this thing still bothers me after 3 days, I'm going to share it. And my therapist said, if you share it and it's resolved, does it improve your life? So, because sometimes things, yes, it can improve your life or it's a decision that involves you, but some things like triggers, sometimes they're just triggers. They're not like something to be resolved. It's something to be resolved within ourselves. So very often it's like, you know what? It's my feeling. I don't need to say anything. And I'll give you an example. The other day I was triggered and it was not a big trigger. It rubbed me in the wrong way. I would react very much so back in the day and I would have blamed the other person, but I didn't react at all. I just knew like I was triggered and I had an emotional reaction. I know it's me, but still I was upset at myself. I wasn't able to be compassionate to myself. I was upset that I had the trigger because I thought I already healed that part of myself. And it's so funny. The minute I think I healed some part of myself, the universe is testing me and it's putting me in a situation that shows me if I have resolved it or not. And in that particular case, I came a long, 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 did I say long, way, but not there yet. So what I did afterwards is meditate and calm myself down. And it just sort of went away. But I admitted to myself that, yes, I'm triggered still. I have work to do, a little bit more work to do. And I'm not compassionate towards myself. I'm blaming myself. And then I looked for that clue as an opportunity to heal that part of me that has the need to be blamed, be blameful towards myself. So again, the first thing is, right, to be compassionate and not to expect results right away. Expect not to react like for a minute, I mean second, and then 2 and 3, and then maybe a day, and maybe within that day, when you decide not to react, you will hold a grudge, you will feel like resentful, you will not be able to cover it up in front of the other person. And that was a hard one for me. Like, would I cover it up? Would I speak up right away? But I know if I speak up right away, I know it's not the other person, so why speak up? Because maybe in one day or by the third day following my rule, I'll not have the need to say it. So I would say, like, you know what? Something triggered me. I'm not going to share what it is, but I don't want to also pretend that it didn't bother me. And I know it's me, it's not you. I just want to give myself 3 days. So bear with me in these 3 days. I might be like a little off. And then should I decide after the third day to share? I will, but if not, not. And that worked for us. So you got to find what works for you in your relationship. And it's not possible in every situation. So what can help you is journaling, meditation, sitting with your feelings. You don't have to like play a music, a meditation. That's what I did the other day. I just closed my eyes, started breathing, and just sit with my feelings instead of distract myself. And so the more we embrace this process, the more we come to appreciate our triggers as tools for healing and obstacles to avoid. The next thing, healing the root cause and reducing emotional reactions. When you uncover the root cause of your triggers, you begin the process of releasing it. So remember, like, what is brought to light loses its power. If you suppress it, ignore it, pretend it's not there, distract yourself, not admit in front of yourself that you have it, it will persist. Once you start bringing it to light, it will lose its power. And it's a beautiful way of living, of being. So the more you practice this inner work, the less intense your emotions will be, your emotional reactions. I mean, wouldn't that be beautiful? Think of the times. I mean, I certainly can like come up with million examples. Think of the times that you like blew up, had a huge reaction, and then days after you're like, what the heck? So over time, situations that once provoked strong feelings will no longer have the same power over you. And that will be beautiful. This doesn't mean you won't feel any emotions, but you will handle them with greater ease and understanding, creating more peace in your everyday life. The next time you're triggered, remember, it's not about the external situation. It's about the inner work that still needs your attention. Something within yourself needs your attention. And that's what the trigger is for. So lean into those triggers with compassion, very important, awareness and appreciation. Be truly grateful for those moments because they're teaching you a big, big life lesson and teaching you how to resolve these things within yourself and heal those parts, those shadows. These situations are only showing you your shadow side. And the more you work with it, the less control it will have over your emotional world. So that's it. If that video is helpful, subscribe, comment, share, and comment, of course. And I'll see you next time. And again, stop blaming other people, but be grateful for those triggers and look within yourself. Ciao for now, and I'll see you next time.